Hi, good morning, and welcome to the Lioness Den. We are so happy that you are joining us on this morning. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Today is our mental health moment for the women's channel here, the Lioness Den. The Lioness Den is a place where we as women can join together and talk about anything. It's a place to chill. So we want you to come in, join us, join the conversation, be a part. We have a great lineup today. I guess that's what I should say. We have a great lineup today. And they will be coming on in just a second. But I just wanted you to, as you come in, to like our channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And be a part of the conversation. This is not a conversation just for today, but this is an ongoing conversation. We are here for you, and we hope you are here for us. Let's join together. Start this off right. We're gonna have Ebony Vaughn, Tammy Saunders, and Adrian Holloman join me right now, and we're gonna start this conversation off this morning. Again, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share. Hi, we are here. Um, we're doing this. Hi, ladies. How are you this morning? Let's see. Ebony. Okay. Tammy's mic was muted. Tammy, can you unmute your mic? There we go. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
I am so happy that you decided to join me this morning for this mental health moment. We want to help someone today, and you ladies are the cream of the crop, as people say, the best of the best. I'll start off with Adrian because I'm looking at my screen and how it's set up. Adrian, I've known her for a while, as say known of her, I should say, but I had never actually interacted. And I must tell you that she is a godsend. If anybody doesn't know, Adrian is a godsend. She's a wealth of information. Adrian, can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Sure. I am Adrian Holloman. I am the founder and CEO of Discovering Treasures Life Coaches and the author of the motivational journal, I Am Because I Say I Am, transformed by the power of affirmation. So that's what I do. I'm a mom, a grandmom, a new grandmom. Yay!
Yay!
Teacher, minister, sister, and friend. That's who I am.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have Miss Tammy Saunders here. She is not new to our broadcast, but we love her so much. She is the prayer warrior of prayer warriors. If you want to knock it down and knock it out, you call Tammy because she gonna pray you through. She the midwife. She gonna take you right on through where you might not be able to take yourself. Tammy, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, good morning. I am Tammy Saunders. I am an LPN, have been so for a little over 40 years. I am a doula. I am a mom. I am a grandmom, and I am a new mother-in-law. My son gave me a daughter-in-law, and I am also a minister. I have every Saturday night around 10:30 on IG. I share the gospel. I also talk about things that deal with our community, and so that's kind of what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, for joining us. And now, no, we have Ebony. Ebony, I can't say enough about Ebony. We talk on the phone. We figure stuff out together. We figure stuff out together. It has become such I think a great friendship relationship here. Ebony has been with us a few times now. And Ebony, if you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
I'm Ebony Vaughn of Vaughn Therapeutic Systems, a mental health organization. We provide individual, group, family, and couples counseling. And so I have been in practice, for over 20 years now. I've been in private practice for about 11 years. Also an author, a minister, a friend, a sister, and I'm excited about being here today.
Thank you, Ebony. And this the introductions um are what we're going to talk about. Everybody has introduced who they are. I don't think who I said I am. I am a mother, a sister. I am an aunt. I am a minister. I think all of us on here have that title right now. I'm not an author, but maybe one day.
It's
But
coming.
yes, it's coming. Well, thank you. But I wear a bunch of hats, and as women, we all wear a lot of hats. We wear so many hats until it sometimes overwhelms us. And so today, that's what we want to talk about: the hats that we wear as women, the hats that we wear that sometimes overwhelm us, the hats that sometimes we don't know how to take off and just take care of us. So I want to start the conversation off with a scenario, and then we can go from there. So I work 8 hours a day. Today wasn't that great of a day. I came home and I had 3 kids, and they're running around because they're so happy to see me and they haven't seen mom all day. And they won't give me the minute to slow down. And I'm screaming and I'm hollering and I'm going through a bunch of changes. And nobody understands what I'm going through. And I've been going through this for a long time. And sometimes it just seems like something I can't get over, I can't get under, I can't get through. Ladies, these what what do you do? That's basically the question. What do you do? Anybody can start.
Mm.
So,
Well, a lot of times we have to realize that we can take control of our atmosphere. You can't control other people. You can only control your response to it. And sometimes, in many cases, whenever I entered a situation like that, for me, I would speak to the people that are there. Can you give me 15 minutes just to deprogram, make myself available for you all? For me, that was getting my uniform off because I didn't want to take anything home to my children. And sometimes it was just washing my face and just smelling my home soap as opposed to hospital soap. And so a lot of times what I had to do was just give me 15 minutes. And it used to work wonders because I had to deprogram from listening out for call bells, for, for all that stuff that a nurse had to go through. So settling your environment as much as possible really helped me. Okay, so that's what I did.
so the first thing I thought of when you gave that scenario was, you know what? If I want to cry, cry. If I just want to be frustrated, if I want to lock myself in the bathroom and say I need to go to the bathroom and not open the door, I think that in that scenario, you do what you do best, and that is do it. And whatever that means, because sometimes, there are situations where you can't necessarily remove yourself from it. So it's almost like you have to figure out how to endure with that. And I always say that it's important for us to allow ourselves to feel what we feel. Structure is always good and routine is always good. But as a mother with 3 kids, structure and routine oftentimes go out the door because there are things that happens that are beyond your control. I always say that those years doesn't look pretty, but you do the best you can with what you have and rely on your faith. If that means having a baby on your shoulder, having somebody on your leg, but getting some coffee and sitting down and drinking some juice with everybody hanging on you just so you can do it the way you know how. I think that, sometimes when we talk about how do you handle those scenarios, it's so different and so unique to different people. And so it's almost like, how can you manage in your environment, and what does that look like?
I was gonna say, when Ebony started talking, I agree with both, because many times with children, especially depending on the age of the child, they're not going to understand that 15-minute rule. So hopefully we'll get them to the place where they are, but depending on where they are, they may not understand. So you may have to be strategic. And like Emily said, with one on the hip and one here, drink your coffee. I was thinking something as simple as putting my earphones, because I like music. And a lot of times music will help me to come down. So whether I'm putting dance music on, praise music on, something that's going to change my mood or something that's going to help mellow me out. So you may have one earphone in as you're talking to the baby. Yes, sweetheart, da 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 da. Oh, mommy says da 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 da, and you're still calming yourself down. So you have to develop some strategies. If that means, okay, so I just got these 5 minutes right now, but everybody's going to be in bed by 8:30 to 9, and from 9 to 11, I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to unwind. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to do what I need to do. And again, when you're able to put pieces in place, or a time that, you know, if I'm going to do all my laundry on this day so I don't have to deal with it every day, or however you need to do, whether you're doing Uber Eats or you're doing the fresh meals, or however you can save time and strategies to help yourself, then begin to put those little pieces in place. But you have to take the moment, because that moment will last you hours, and it may only be that moment that you need to last you some days.
Yeah. I only have one kid, and I can tell you that some days it's a lot. I have a kid and a cat. That's what I have. I'm surprised right now that the cat is not trying to be in the video because he believes that he's made for TV. So, but when you come in, they haven't seen you all day, and it's mom is here. Let's you know, and single moms especially, you know, we have to work. And so that download from all day of everything that's happened around you sometimes can weigh you down. It can make your whole attitude when you come in. I thank God for my daughter. She's very understanding, and I know some of you have the same thing. My daughter, she's very understanding. She will give me time just to breathe, and she'll say, "Mommy, let me just go ahead, and I'll talk to you later." That alone is such a great help, because sometimes I have friends who don't have kids who say that. They're gonna tell you right then, as soon as your feet hit the door, it's their time and they're gonna talk. You have no space. With that being said, today there's more stress with the pandemic going on, the lack of jobs. So you have a lot of people who have lost their jobs because people are having to downsize due to the pandemic, which is causing depression. It's causing, I had a friend tell me cutting. I'd never known anything about cutting. I don't understand it, and Ebony maybe can share with us some more on that. But cutting, just different things that we're doing to try to soothe and to try to soothe ourselves. And you know, I've heard Tammy talk about it on her show, how we try to soothe ourselves. But what is your advice for someone who is so stressed or depressed, where they've started these things like cutting and they're depressed and they're not eating? Some people are not eating just because they don't know where the next meal comes from, because all of those things lead to something else. And you know, what is your advice? Or can you, first of all, let me start here. Ebony, can you tell us how these things work? And then the advice, if you ladies can share advice on what to do when you're so stressed or so depressed that you do feel like you have to go to these extents.
So I think that self-harm is definitely prevalent when we talk about mental health, and it can go anywhere from cutting. It could be binging, whether with food. Oftentimes, people engage in risky behaviors as a result, as a self-harm, as a self-harm practice. So I think that there are a lot of things that people kind of resort to when they don't necessarily know how to address their stress or address whatever their emotional distress is. So the important thing is to deal with what the issue is, what the emotional distress is, whether that's through therapy, and also maybe going to the doctor, because sometimes There may be some medical issues. It just depends on what it is. But the more importantly, it's really about dealing with the emotional distress and having the courage to face that, because there is weighty work with that. You know, when you start talking about dealing with the triggers of depression or the triggers of stress, there are a lot of things that's associated with that, a lot of layers that needs to be pulled from that. You know, oftentimes when I work with kids who are cutting, a lot of it has to do with sensory and them attempting to experience pain so that they don't have to communicate verbally what their emotional distress is. So there's a lot of avoidance associated with that. And self harm can also lead to like addictions and things like that. And so, for the most part, dealing with that emotional distress is going to be the most important thing. And also learning how to detect your emotional state. We talk a lot in the mental health field about emotional intelligence and being able to be aware and to manage your emotional state and learning how to deal with that. So through the process of therapy, I believe that those are things that can be addressed. But you have to first recognize that there is a need for someone else to help you. And it's also, you know, sometimes people don't come forward and really talk about it because they're afraid, they're ashamed. You know, shame is definitely something that goes hand in hand. And for those that engage in self-harm behaviors, oftentimes they're hiding their pain, they're hiding what they're dealing with. And so getting away from that shame is what will help them to break free from the secrecy of the pain that they face.
Yeah, that is a major thing. The shame is big. Also, the guilt.
Yes.
Um, the guilt, the guilt can eat you up and cause you to do things that you never thought you would do, because now I'm guilty that I can't do things the way I
Yeah.
used to do them. I can't give my kids what I want to do. Tammy, you were saying, I was trying to hear what you were saying. Can you unmute yourself? I think you have yourself muted. Yeah, Tammy, you were saying cycles.
I am here. I can hear a little bit.
Can you hear me now? Don't worry about it. We're going to keep going. Understand that this bus ain't going to stop rolling. If you got to go out and come back, we're going to keep it moving. And I know you got a lot to say that we need to hear. So don't worry yourself at all. If you got to go out, come back. We're going to be right here. But she was saying cycles is what she was saying, that we get caught in cycles. I saw her saying, she kept saying cycles. But we do. We get caught in what we're used to doing. And especially with this pandemic, you just can't do everything that you've done before. You know, jobs were gone like that overnight. Overnight, people got laid off. And I believe, well, I don't believe, I know this, that they said that our suicide rates have gone up higher than ever due to this. And so, Adrian, you're a life coach. I'm your client, and I'm going through some of this. What would you tell me?
There are a couple of things. I would remind you that you are resilient, that even though all of this is going on, you have the ability to get through it. You have something in your hand that you can do. Even those who are unemployed and their jobs left, there is a skill, a trade, or something in your hand that you can do that someone needs, so that you can help, change your situation. And then the second thing I would say is ask for help. Women, we're real strong and we're proud and we don't want to ask anybody anything, but you're not the only one going through it. It's a whole country of global nations who are going through the same thing. So people understand where you are. And you have a list of resources and a list of people who are concerned about you. Reach out to them. Everybody will not understand, but there are some who are looking for people to be a blessing to. And so use your resources. Don't go it alone because you don't have to. Ask for help from your community. Reach out to a therapist. Reach out, as Ebony said, reach out to a therapist, reach out to a physician, to your counselors, to your coaches. But you've got the resources and you've got what it takes to make it through. So you can do this.
Absolutely. We have to know that there is hope. You know, there is hope in these situations. There is hope. There is hope for all of us. You know, even people who seem to have everything need to know a lot of times that there is hope, because some things happen in your life that make you feel like it's hopeless. A lot of us as females, we don't talk about it, but we have PTSD. Certain things are triggering us that happen as children, that happen in our teenage years. How do we deal with this trigger? Because things trigger us, and I didn't believe it before. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like, nothing triggers me. And then I had situations to happen, and when I moved here by myself, I realized that was a trigger. That was the thing that made me feel some type of way, and now I don't feel it anymore. Ebony, how do we deal with these triggers?
I think the most important thing is that we deal with them. But I want to go back to something that I thought about this as you were talking. You know, sometimes we have to not have so many expectations of ourselves. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes, you know, we have to adjust to the environment and the season that we're in our lives as women. And one of the things that I find not only in my life, but in many, of the lives of the women that I speak with, we don't always do a good job at adjusting to our seasons. And we put so much on ourselves and we expect so much, and we may not have the capacity or the bandwidth to really deal with that in the season that we're in. And I think that brings about a stress level that is oftentimes overwhelming. So not only is it that we're triggered by the environment and we're triggered by traumatic experiences, but sometimes we're triggered by our own unrealistic expectations of ourselves and our inability to really meet those expectations. And so just like when you are in business, just like when you are working through a project, you do a strategic plan and you determine like what you can handle and what you can't, what you should apply, what intervention you should apply and what you shouldn't, what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And I think that as women in seasons of our lives, we have to decide, look, I really want to do this, but I'm not doing it because I don't feel like it and I don't have the strength for it. Or, going into a house where you've worked 8 hours and, you got to cook and clean. I don't want to clean. I don't want to do that today. So you know what? I'm going to bed. I'll clean up this weekend, and I mean, those are just very practical things, but they can be larger things as well, where boundaries and balance is a part of your everyday practice so that you're not overstressed and so that you're not overwhelmed about things that are not unnecessary and not necessary, or are they a requirement? Because a lot of things that we do, they're not necessarily a requirement. We just do them because they're obligations and it is the right thing to do. And everything that's a right thing to do, it's not the right time to do it. And so being able to recognize boundaries and balance, I believe that will help us with our triggers. You gave the example of moving to another state. And so, sometimes when you move, there's a transitional period where you are adjusting, where you are learning how to adapt to a new state, a new environment, a new support system. So it's almost like give yourself a break. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling lonely, that's par for course. Don't overstress yourself because now you're thinking, I shouldn't feel this way. So you're depressed about being depressed. So I think that sometimes when we talk about triggers, we got to recognize the environment in which we're creating for ourselves and learn how to navigate in that environment, and also to not put those expectations on you that you can't bear. And then if you are triggered, get that help that you need. Say you're triggered and back up. Take some time to really reflect and think about what you can change and what you can't. And if it's something that's beyond your control, you got to let it go for a minute. You got to, and you got to get the help with those that can help you so that you can move from one space to the other.
That's good. That's good.
That is excellent. That is great. Tammy, did you have anything you wanted to share? Because I see you back. We happy to have you back.
What Ebony just said is so big, because especially for us as Black women, we are so used to wearing all the hats all the time, and for us to know that there is space for us to give us a break. Okay, granted, we've had to do a lot of things, especially as a single mom. Everything rose and fell on my head. If the bill didn't get paid, it was because I didn't pay it, and I didn't have the luxury to do that. Recently, my father's youngest brother passed away, and that was the reason for me living in Chestertown, because my father asked me to take care of him, and so I did. And I made a quality decision for me. I chose to grieve. Before, when in previous passings and whatever, I didn't have time to grieve. I was raising children. I was very deeply engulfed in my career, so I didn't have time to stop and do it. So I would just put it away, and when it rushed me, it rushed me. But this time, I purposely chose to grieve, and so I really felt great about it, because all of a sudden, it wasn't my "don't talk to me because I'm grieving." No, it wasn't that. It was that I just kind of can't do that right now. And little by little, I've only been adding back on things that I believe that I'm strong enough to do. I believe that I'm strong enough to do this. I believe that I'm strong enough to do this. I had even stopped working out. Now I got back involved with my workout and stuff like that, because I have other goals. But when I chose to grieve, it also, and please forgive me for getting so churchy, but it also gave me a road into the rest of God. And I have been telling my other family members it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist, because for years all we were taught is just pray about it, child, you'll be all right. Well, sometimes you need to pray for God to lead you to a therapist or a psychiatrist, depending upon what all you need. But when I made that time for me to grieve, it seemed like a whole weight lifted off of me. I could think about it. If I cried, I didn't feel guilty. If I just didn't feel like going out to the store today, I didn't have to. And the mere fact that I live alone, that was a big deal too. But now I'm getting back to where I'm doing my housework again. I'm doing, stuff that I have to do, all because I chose to grieve. We have to remind ourselves that we have choices. There are certain things that we just can't not do. As in, if I had a small baby, I couldn't decide just not to take care of it. But just as Ebony was saying, you decide what you will be able to do and what you're not going to be able to do. So that's also a part of the self-love. Unfortunately, in the world that we had lived in, it's self-care was only getting your hair and nails done. Well, I don't have hair, okay, and all that other stuff I can take care of. But the big deal for me was self-care is really taking care of the little girl inside me, the little girl that didn't get a chance to grieve about this, the little girl that did not achieve all her goals, and she's 60 years old now. That little girl, that self-care, where I fall back in love with me, and so then I do things that can add life to my years.
Yes.
That is very, very powerful, because most women don't know how to do self-care. We are so busy doing everything else that we don't take care of ourselves. We run ourselves down. We don't take care of our health. We just don't take care of ourselves. And then we get to an age where we go, well, how did I get this? Why am I hypertensive now? When all the time I was running and eating, just eating from the fast food place because I got one more thing I got to do before I can go to bed. And if I didn't cook, then I had to make sure that we had something. Let's dive more into self-care. How do you, because Tammy said now that she is there, she was by herself, she had the time. But some of us, we don't even have, we don't feel like we have the time. That's what I'm going to say. Because Ebony was saying earlier, you got to set those boundaries. But sometimes we don't even feel like, how do I set a boundary? I've never, as a female, as a person, I've never set a boundary. My answer has always been yes to everybody. How do we get to the place where we figure out, and it may be just finding a therapist. I don't know. But how do we get to the place where we say, hey, I got a boundary. I have to take care of myself today. How do we do that?
Well, that begins with self-love, loving yourself enough to realize your importance, your value, and your worth, right? Because if you're doing it and you know you're tired, you're doing it because you know you don't want to do it, but you're doing it because somebody might not like it, or they might be mad, or they'll reject me, or they always expect it. That's not the reason to do it. You do it because this is what I want to do. This is how I need to move forward. This is how I feel it's in my plan, and it kind of works for me today, right? Self-love, a lot of times we think about, if we don't do this, we're being selfish. No, we're being selfless. We're caring for ourselves enough to say no. And for many of us, depending on how we grew up and what our mindsets are and how we deal with rejection, if rejection is a big deal, we're not going to say no. But when we learn who we are and we're comfortable in who we are, no becomes what someone say, no is a complete sentence. I don't have to explain it. No, I'm not going to be able to assist you with that today. And so when you learn who you are, it becomes easier to set boundaries.
And that's good. One of the things that I think about, and I talk a lot about, in whether it's in my practice or even in coaching, is just the importance of really gaining a healthy perspective of the root of self-care. Because a lot of times we look at self-care and we look at the practices. So those practices, like you meant, is, well, I want a massage, or I want rest, or whatever your self-care practice is. But the root of all of that is where you are, how connected are you spiritually? What is the how strong is the line to you and the source of your strength? That's where the true self-care begins. It's not about the practice. It's really about really connecting with your source and your root, which is out of the, this whole aspect of self-love. Because the idea is you learn how to love yourself when you love God, and when you have an understanding of who He is and what you are to Him. And so, really getting to the root of self-care has to first start with your spiritual, with your spiritual connection to God. And for those who I work with in my practice that are not Christians, this is something that I really have to delve into, because a lot of times people don't look at, your spiritual connection to the root of self-care. But you can't care about yourself or really effectively love yourself if you don't know God, or if you don't have a source to which you are connected to and you feel springs out of you. So I think that when we talk about self-care, it's important to talk about those practices and those things that you do to make you feel good. But it's really about connecting to who you are and allowing everything that you do to spring from that identity. And I think that that's truly where we start at.
So we have a question in our comments here, and it says, how about how to self-care with a teenager? Thank you. And say no without feeling guilt, without being guilty. And we were talking about that earlier, the guilt. So when you say no, how not to feel guilty about telling your kid no. I guess feel guilty about caring for yourself when you're saying no to your kid for something. Any tips on this one. I know I sometimes I do feel guilty too when I have to say no to my daughter. Sometimes I feel guilty when I see how much she does. So she's doing great in school and she's doing what she's supposed to do. And I'm so busy that some of the things she wants to do, I'm not able to do. Or prime example, one of my majors when I first moved here, I moved her 500 miles, well, 5 hours away from home. So all of her cousins and friends that she was used to being around, they're not here. And now we're in a pandemic, so she's not meeting anyone new either. How do you deal with feeling guilty when you're dealing with your kids and you're still trying to maintain self-care?
I guess I need to, what is it? What are you feeling guilty about? I guess
Because you want to give them, so for me, I am one of these people who I want to give my kid the world.
okay.
And so I want to give them the world, and then she's here. So this is my personal issue. I'll share with you. She's
Okay.
here, and my whole family, as all of you know, is somewhere else.
Yeah.
So now she's here. She hasn't met any friends because we've been here in the pandemic and we've had to be closed in. So you're in a new place. You haven't met anyone, and then I can't even take you or do anything else really to make that better, except for me and you talk every day, and she doesn't seem to be bothered. I think I'm more guilty than she is bothered, to be honest. But I think that's what the person is trying to get to here is, so I'm taking care of myself, but I feel guilty for taking care of me because I got teenagers who want to do stuff, and I've told them no, and then after I tell them no, I'm like, maybe I could have done it, and. It is guilt. I don't know. You guys may not have that. I've felt that with my daughter.
So I have a couple of things. One of the things is it depends on what it is. If it's something, as Ebony said, if it's something that you cannot control, then you release it. Some of it is also that expectations that we put that have nothing to do with reality, but it's our desire to do for them. I can give you an example. When my children were growing up, I worked part-time and I was a single mom, and I always wanted to get my daughter that big 3-foot Barbie doll house every Christmas, but I never had the money. And that was one of my regrets. And I'm like, well, you can rest assured my granddaughter or my grandchildren will have it. But when I asked my daughter a few years back, and I shared that with her, she said, I never wanted that. So I'm carrying guilt from something that I wanted to do because I thought this was, and she was like, no, I didn't want it. So sometimes it's what we place out there that really doesn't matter. And it's things that we create that are really not. So those things that we can't control, we let them go, right? And then the other thing is it about safety? Are we saying no because they really don't need to do that? This is going to impact their lives. This is going to impact their future. This is going to impact their purpose. So baby, as much as you want to do it, that answer is going to be no. And then because I know, and I'm being intentional, and I know what God has called you to do, or I know who you are, I'm not going to feel guilty about it because that's my role to protect you, to guide you, to help shape you for what you're doing what you'll do in this world and in your life. And so I'm not going to be guilty about the no.
Yeah. And I guess that's what I was thinking. I was trying to figure out like what give me the scenario, because I think that the scenario is very important. I agree ditto with everything that Dream Coach just said.
Yes. Yes, that's who she is.
Now,
yes.
For example, each summer my granddaughter comes to stay with me, and I relish it. I can't wait, all that good stuff. But one of the things that I've been teaching her over the last couple of years is I'm teaching her autonomy. And that means put your keys in where they should be, put your money in a place so that you don't have to look all over the house for all this stuff. I shouldn't have to wake you up. You have all these devices and whatnot, set an alarm and all of that. But by the same token, I was also teaching her how to take care of herself, not just physically, but emotionally. If you're upset, sit down, stop, and see where this is coming from. What's this really about? And she's learning. I didn't even think she was really learning these things until I got some feedback from her mom. Mom, what are you teaching her? Okay, I'm not teaching her witchcraft. Good God, what? I mean, she was like, I'll be talking to her, and all of a sudden she'll just sit down on the floor and she'll say, Mom, can you wait a minute? And I'm thinking, I taught her that because by the same token, I was teaching her how to do that, but it made my load a little bit lighter so that when I came to ask her, what is wrong, sweetheart? She could tell me because she sat down and she took care of it. When I am doing self-love and my children want me to move back closer to them, I say, right now, I kind of need to be here. I kind of need to sort some stuff out. Here, I can just throw all my stuff out and then sort it out how I want to. I sometimes feel guilty. For example, there was a situation where one of my daughters bought a house, and the day that she went to closing, she FaceTimed me. She showed me the keys, and she was just so excited and all that good stuff. I said, "I'm so proud of you." This and that. And you know what she said? She said, "But mommy, you weren't here." What? I said, I didn't know you wanted me to be. I didn't, she said, Mommy, this is the first time I've done anything this big. Why weren't you? Blah, blah. Now, this kid is not the kid that called me Mommy. She called me Ma all the time. When she says Mommy, she has my full attention. So one of the things that I'm grateful to God about is that God told me, stop nursing your family. Your family. Because as a nurse, you wait until they ring the call light before you respond. And I hadn't realized that even my adult children needed me to really realize they are my children. Even though I don't have to pat them on the head anymore, there are some things that they expected from me. So I had to regroup, and so that I wouldn't feel that upset and that angst after I got off the phone. Oh my God, I hope I haven't hurt her feelings. I hope she doesn't think I just I got back on the phone and I apologized to my child. And so that way for me, before that lie, that I could start preaching to myself. And that's another thing we have to do. We have to unlearn the lie that we keep telling ourselves about ourselves. Okay.
Good.
And so I got back on the phone, talked to my kid. Everything's good, blah, blah, blah. Fine. We're good. But I incorporated that in the self-love thing, that I am still a good mom. I am still doing these things. In the meantime, I'm taking care of me. Okay. That's it.
That's good.
That was great. Because I can relate to that with just family members, not my kid, but just family members that you want to be there. Yeah. I'm gonna stop right there because I'll get a little bit emotional, because that was a real good one, because you want to be there, and when you're not exactly around the corner for everything that happens, you get that little twinge sometimes, like, dang, should have been there for that, But God knows, and then the stop lying to ourselves in the back of our head, because that is, believe it or not, that is a huge thing, especially us as women. I don't know about guys, but I know we have these stories that replay. They replay in our dreams. They replay in everything that we do. Like, oh, you should have, and sometimes it stagnates us from moving forward to the future, the great things that are set before us that God has for us. I was talking about Adrian when we were backstage before this started. And one of the things that she brings out in her sessions is she pulls that out of you, what God has for you and how you get there. Because sometimes we like to say God has something for us. We know it, but we so caught up with the lie. The lie is repeating us and holding us back. And she really brings that out. Like, when you're in her session, you don't even have time to really hear what that's saying, because she's saying so much positive stuff to pull you out. She's saying, so, I mean, real, Adrian, I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize, because that's not what we're really doing right now. But for real, that's our thing at the end. But she has a session, and I encourage anyone who's on here, if you see Adrian Holloman, go on Facebook, friend her. And she has this session that she does. I don't know how often she does it, but this session is for you if you have the dream. If you heard Ebony called her the dream coach, if you have the dream and you can't get past the lie, when you finish going through her session, it will help you, because you're going to put it down on paper. I mean, and all of these ladies, I don't want to leave anybody out, and I think you guys understand what I'm saying right now. But all of these ladies have different materials and different sessions that if you just tune into them, and we're going to talk about it at the end, I promise, but I got a little caught up because I was reminded of when I was in Adrian's session and how grateful I was, because for the moment that I was there, it erased the lie. And I've been able to push forward to do other things because she reminded you that that's not what God had you here for. He already gave you a dream. Let's look forward to the dream. What's the next thing you're going to do? How do you plan to do that? And she gave you a little book to write it down. That was even better. So you're planning this dream out. These are the types of positive influences that we have to, when we get in these places. I think Adrian said it earlier, and I'm just becoming an Adrian fan right now. Sorry, guys. I'm just waving the Adrian flag for a moment, just for a moment. She said earlier, about how that we have to move forward and find those positive things. We all have something else during this time that you can do. There's something else in your hand, and that's the thing the lie takes away from us. The lie really takes away from us. I'm not going to pass the offering basket. We're going to talk about the next thing because we haven't, I think.
Lydia, before you go to the next thing, let me jump on this Adrian thing. So,
okay.
This Adrian thing, this dream coach thing.
Yes.
One of the reasons why I have always saw her is that, is because, it's very rare. Not rare, because I believe that God really stations his people. But, when you have a passion to see people birth, when you are a midwife and, you recognize midwives, you recognize those that God has planted around you and in your circle to help birth, even if it's a word, or even if it is, just their presence, or, just to see them flow. And I've always recognized that in Adrian. And I tell, a little story, and I always chuckle on this. And the first day of 2020, Adrian, we were at her event, and she just plops down next to me and she says, "Oh, so when you gonna write that book?" And I looked at her, and if any of you know my personality, I'm very focused, and I'm very like, when I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I simply told this woman, eventually I'll write a book, but that's not my focus right now. Right. So wasn't that my exact words, dream coach?
Yeah.
And I said to her, that's not my focus right now, because I was doing other things, and I was serious about that, and so when she said that, she was like, "Okay, so what you doing?" And so I went on to tell her what I was doing, and she was like, okay. So it met her approval, right? But unbeknownst to me, God would have it so that we are shut down for an entire year. Glory to God. That's right, Tammy. And so God had other plans, so not only was it dream coach sitting down, it was just a question. So when you gonna write that book? That's all. She didn't stay on it too long. Once I said what I had to say, it's always a situation where I'm telling people what I'm gonna do. And God is like, "Okay, I got you, because you gonna do this thing." And so it wasn't until fast forward and going into all the way in July, I'm walking, just walking on my morning walk, and the Lord said, "Get ready to fight." And then next thing I know, it's a book. So I'm just saying to say that oftentimes God plants people in and around you and in your life, even if it's to speak that word. Now, I had no idea. I mean, I knew in my lifetime that it was going to come to this place, but I didn't know it was now. And this woman of God is like, "When you going to do it?" And then 9 months later or 11 months later, it's done. I didn't know it, and then 4 months later, it's done again. But
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 God.
God.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Ebony, do you remember the first time I asked you? You were like, I ain't writing no book. I don't want to do that. That was the year before.
Because it wasn't, and I'm gonna tell you, I've always, since I think it was in '99, my spiritual mom at the time, that's one of the reasons why I love, I truly believe that God raises up midwives, and all of us on this line, all of this in this public, we are midwives.
Yes, yes.
Birthing women of God. That's what we do.
Yes,
it's not just women, it's men too.
Yes,
Every one of us on this line, we are midwives. And so in '99, that was one of the things that my spiritual mother would always, really push me in terms of me getting out the way. And that's why I said I always knew that at some point I was going to be doing what I was doing, but I just had no intention on doing it. Last year, the year before that, I was like, I'll get to it later down in the line, but again, we can run our mouths and say what God is going to do, what we want to do. And I'm famous for that. But the reality is God knows best, and he knows how to position the people in your life that will help you get there. Even, Sister Tammy, she has birthed some words into me through her prayer and through her encouragement over the years. And so all of this is just, it's just the way God does it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you said that, so Tammy doesn't know what I'm about to talk about, but I'm going to talk about something about Sister Tammy real quick, because everybody who's watching, I want you to understand what Ebony just said. She said, find yourself to help you birth your dream. That's what she said. She talked about everybody who helped her. But if you don't have someone who helps you, who pushes you, who is that birthing coach to say, hey, come on, let's get this baby out of here. We see the head, you crowning. Y'all know what it's like, because most of us on this line, I know we have kids. You crowning, come on. Because when you're crowning, you feel like I can't go no further. I can't do no more because I'm crowning, and this hurts. This is starting to hurt me. This don't feel like it should be for me. And Tammy, for me, has been that person so many times. I learned a lesson. Tammy taught me a lesson about 2 weeks ago. She don't even know she did. We had a conversation, and we were talking, and she said, yeah, because, you're my line sister. She always tell me, you my line sister and everything. And in the conversation, we agreed to disagree at the end of the conversation. I think we agreed to disagree. Well, I have been a person that if I agree to disagree, I can be disagreeable. Just the honest truth. I can be disagreeable. And I was sitting there and I talked to Tammy, and I was like, okay, we agreed to disagree. But me and Tammy, we cool. We good girlfriends. And for a minute I said, well, how am I going to talk to Tammy? Because you disagreeable, sis. You disagreeable, and you and Tammy ain't never been agreed to disagree, and you just be disagreeable with Tammy. You can't do that. Tammy is the evangelist, the great evangelist. You can't do that with the great evangelist. And I will tell you, it was just like God whispered in my ear. Just because you don't agree on everything, and we have to know this as a lot of women, because we do this, just because we don't agree don't mean we're enemies. We're just friends who don't have the same opinion, but we can still go out to dinner. We can still have our conversations, and we have to maintain the sisterhood. Yes. We have to. Please understand, ladies, we must maintain the sisterhood. Yes. And there is one thing that God has been impressing upon me lately is about, this is where you have your trust circle. The sisterhood is where you have your trust circle. You can't trust everybody, but when you have that sisterhood, that I can say everything that's on my mind, and it's not going to be held against me, because that's the one thing we have to remember. The sisterhood is a safe place. That's what the Lioness Den is about. This is a safe place for us. When we begin to understand that when we come into these circles with women like we're talking to today, oh my God, I am so honored. With women like we're talking to today, this is a safe place. Even if they don't agree with what you say, they're going to love you and pray for you. That's and understand one thing about this trust thing. I want to share this real quick, and I'm going to go back to the topic. Trust has been taken from us since the garden. There was a seed planted in the garden when the serpent talked to Eve, and that seed was to mistrust God. Yeah. That's what it was. It was planted. And the same way Jesus came down through 42, what is that, 42 generations, so did that seed of mistrust.
Yeah.
And so that's why we have the problems we have today. Sisters, girlfriend, love money, Snooky, Pookie, whoever you are, kill it. That's why the
Right.
Bible says that we will bruise his head, and he gonna bruise us. So we got the power to stomp on his head and trust
Right.
our sisters and trust God. So let's
That's right.
move into this trust today. I'm telling you, when we learn to trust our sister
Right.
circle,
Right.
Yeah.
we got somebody.
That's
We are
good.
not alone.
Got
And I want you to
somebody.
understand you are
Yeah.
not alone out here. You're not by yourself. Somebody else is there. You got a birthing coach. You got a doula who's saying, "You crowning, baby. Come on. You're crowning. I
on.
see your baby.
Come
I see
on.
it. Come on, come on,
Come
come on."
on.
You know,
Come
and
on.
these ladies on this line, oh my, Ebony said that
Friend.
they are all great birthing coaches. I just must, I keep singing praises. We're supposed to be having a conversation. But these ladies are birthing coaches, and we're going to share the information because if you're looking for a birthing coach, somebody who's going to talk to you, work with you, they right here in front of you. They right here in front of you. They're going to pray for you. They're going to tell you when you're wrong, and they're going to help you to birth the dream. You got the dream coach right here. You got Ebony right here. Ebony is just triple G living. What is it? Ebony, say it for us.
It's triple G living. God goes and grind. Mm-hmm.
God goes and grind. So you got something that you need to get your grind on for. Come on now. I'm telling you, these ladies right here, I can't say enough. We got to move on to the next part of this. But there are ladies, please, can you give an encouraging word? I would like to hear an encouraging word today because someone needs a word. And we've been talking about depression and everything, but somebody is going, they ain't talking about me because I got this other situation that they really didn't cover. We may haven't covered your situation, but God has a word for you on this line. And I'm going to ask you, ladies, and I know I'm putting you on the spot. I probably should have told you this earlier, but I'm going to ask you, ladies, if you could just share something from your heart before we end. We're getting close to an hour, but if you could share something on your heart, I would appreciate it. We're going to start with Adrian, then Ebony, and then Tammy. But if you could just share what's on your heart. Thank you.
So I would say today, and those who know me know that I want people to win. I want all of us to win. And so I would encourage you today to do not give up, do not quit. That in, you know, how this is spoilers alert. I know the end of the story. I read that book, and that book says you win. You've got what it takes. You've got the resources. You've got everything around you. Reach out to it. Don't give up. And let's keep it moving. And let's do all of the great things that are in your heart, in your mind, in your soul to do. Because you've got this, girl. Let's make this thing happen.
What comes to mind for me is just to give yourself permission to be. You know, oftentimes we do, but we are not being. And so I just believe that as women, we need to give ourselves permission to be who God has called us to be, and also be the woman that we are today. In all of our challenges, in all of our weaknesses, our strengths, everything that you are, you are. And I think that if we would just give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to be, you know, to not have all the answers, you know, to give yourself permission to learn to live in where you are right now, just right now. I believe that, you know, that will help you to get to tomorrow.
What I would say to today, of course, it may have been planned, it may have been on the calendar, but God has a divine connection for you to have been here today, because we, everyone that you see, we are your cloud of witnesses. We are here to watch you walk through this stuff and help you to come alongside, throw your arm around our neck, because God says, for I know the plans that I have for you. He goes on to say, in all things, he'll work them together for your good. This day was designed just for the individual that's going to watch it now, next week, next year, or whatever. But today is the day for you to say, I can do this. I am going to win. because I'm giving myself permission to be me. Be authentic no matter what. If you don't know anything else about me, is that I'm real. Okay? But the big deal is God made this time, this intersection, just for you. Amen.
I muted myself. This, oh my goodness, has been so good, ladies. Again, if you're out there and we didn't talk about your subject and you want us to talk about your subject, we will do this again. Inbox us. We'll talk about it and we'll talk to you. So don't think this is the last time and this is the only time. But again, we will be here again. We will talk to you. And I'm going to put some information up right now on the screen. So the first one I'm going to put up is Ebony Vaughn, tripplegliving.com. You can go to her site, and her phone number is here, 410-382-4536. Vaughn Therapeutics. Ebony is a clinician. She is not just my sister girl. She is she's certified and qualified to do what she does. So please reach out to this birthing coach, this pioneer in the gospel when it comes down to us having therapists who are also saved. I don't know a lot of them. I know a few, but Ebony is one of the best, and she's made for you in this hour. Please, again, Triple G Living. Check Ebony Vaughn out. The second person we have here is Miss Dream Coach up there, who I can't let go. Adrian Holloman. She has on Facebook her page. Facebook, right, Adrian?
Yep.
Facebook, Discovering Treasures Life Coaches. On IG, she has DT Dream Coach. She has a motivational journal, I Am Because I Say I Am, and it's available on Amazon. I have to go back to Ebony. In 1 second, but please reach out to Adrian on Facebook, on IG. When you see her ad, again, and all of these ladies, as their names appear, they're on Facebook. Friend them, please. Go to their pages, like, share, subscribe, whatever you have to do. They're on Instagram. I know Ebony's on YouTube too. I'm not sure about Adrian and Tammy. They're on Clubhouse. They have rooms. Please stop in, hear what they're saying, because they're saying some great things. Ebony, when I go back to Ebony, I didn't want to miss this. Ebony has two books out. She has Fight and she has Gift. Fight is the, you know how you go to school and they give you a syllabus? Fight is the syllabus, I think, to the rest of the books that she's going to write. So Ebony, Fight is the syllabus to the rest of the books that she's going to write. Ebony's books are great. Fight just opens it up for everything else I think that I know you're gonna get from Ebony. She has Triple G Living, but Triple G Living comes on every Friday. Am I right, Ebony? Mm-hmm. Friday night on Facebook. Look it up. You don't want to miss these sessions. She had a great session last night. I was on listening to her. Please look it up. Look her up. I don't want you to miss this. It's a lot of stuff going on around us during this pandemic. But what has come out is they said that gold goes into the fire and all the impurities are burned off. So you're seeing gold. You're seeing gems that are coming out after the fire of this pandemic has kind of pushed us in. And we're coming out with great stuff. And last but definitely not least is Miss Tammy Saunders here. Miss Tammy here, she has what is this? Clubhouse Titus 2 prayer and sound doctrine. Let me tell you guys something. If you have not joined in to Titus 2 prayer and sound doctrine, you have been missing it. Yesterday in that group, there was such ministry going on. But forget not to forget the ministry, but when you push ministry to the side, they ministered from the God side, and then they ministered to the person. And I'm not going to tell the business of the people who were in the group, but they ministered to, I'm fat. Let me tell you, I'm big and I want to lose weight and I'm depressed about it. And they ministered to that. That's what they literally, so you don't have that a lot of places where people even go there. but they minister to these people in this group. I've been on there many times, and I've listened to Tammy and Paula Littlejohn. That's her name, right, Tammy? And they have ministered. When I tell you, they have prayed down the house. They have read the scriptures. They have sang the song. Only thing they didn't do is slap out no olive oil. They just had the anointing going through the line. I'm telling you, these ladies are anointed. And Tammy, I love you. I have to tell you that. I always tell you, I'm telling you that publicly. I tell you, I love you so much because Tammy has been a birthing coach specifically for me for so long. You can reach Tammy at tammysaunders@gmail.com or at nursetammyr@yahoo.com. And then every Saturday night at 10:30, Tammy? At 10:30 every Saturday night, Nurse Tammy is on IG. And she's covering a bunch of stuff. Ebony and I was talking about, she had a series on gut health on IG. So she's covering things that we need to know as women. We don't know what's going on sometimes with our bodies, but she's covering it from every end. She is meeting the full person from spiritual to physical. Sometimes she has all types of people come on. I'm sure she'll have financial people come on, tell you how to save your money, get your money together. So please, as we're about to end, check these ladies out. They are the real deal, the truth. I appreciate you all. I can't say it enough. I appreciate you all for coming today. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the tips. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules because I know all of you are thriving. You have businesses of your own that you're doing, but you took the time, and I am honored that you spent the time with us and with me today. Thank you for saying yes to me. Thank you for saying yes, God. Thank you for ministering on here today. And I think that's it, ladies. I can't say, all I can do is sing more praises. And we're running out of time right now. So thank you again for coming. We'll do this again, I promise. To everyone on Facebook, again, go to the Lioness Den. Go to the Lioness Den on Facebook. It's spelled just like this. Let me put up go to the Lioness Den. Like our page, so that every time we have something, you can come on with us. On next week, we're going to do fitness. We're going to do a health session with Joyce England, Lucretia Wilson, and Monyette Smith. Join us. We're going to talk about some of that stuff that Nurse Tammy, and maybe we can get Nurse Tammy to come back on and tell us about the gut health on there if she's available. But yes, join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. Same place, same channel. Thank you again, and God bless you all.